Back alongside Adam Kaufman, Dave Ross here as we continue Sunday Bet Prep. And Adam, a real pleasure to have Scott Pritchard joining us in studio right now. Of course, you can follow Scott on X at Pritchard Wins. Does a great job with the Friday Football Invitational Contest. Currently, right now, might I add, Scott, you know this, I don't have to tell you, sitting in first place. So,
that's decent.
Yeah, not too shabby, right? We only have the guy that's sitting in first place right now. As you wind down the regular season in the position you're in, I'm assuming that doesn't change how you handicap to get you to first place.
Well, it's one game, 1 week at a time. It's a 3-hour contract, week in, week out. I do like options. I do like choices, Dave and Adam. The concern I have is I'm used to checking out 50 to 80 college football games, sides, totals, money lines, if you will, and now I'm kind of handcuffed into being forced and pigeonholed into only having 12 to 13 to 14 NFL games, sides, and totals. But again, the good news is the stacked field of 16, or I think we're down to 11 now, we all have to play by the same rules. So again, respectfully, I'll match wits with anyone.
How do you choose?
Very carefully, very delicately. And people always ask me, hey, how do you feel about your picks this week? And oftentimes I always feel good, but I'm always cautiously optimistic because, again, you know, Steve Fezzik has said this, and he's 110% correct. I either bet early or I bet late. I never, ever bet Friday between noon and 3 because the number is settled. You know, the number has been beat up by sharps and wise guys and unfair advantage players like myself. But again, respectfully, we all have to play by the same rules. It's a very, very tough contest.
Well, let's get into that because I find that fascinating that you're actually picking windows of when to make the physical wager, right? Because you know that those numbers are going to change once the sharp money comes in. You hear the news today of, say, Trevor Lawrence, right? That all of a sudden we're getting this late report now that it looks like he's going to try to give it a go tomorrow in Cleveland. Do you try to avoid games where it's certainly quarterback uncertainty, or is that part where you can find an advantage sometimes depending on which side you might like?
It's the latter, meaning I want to get out in front of it. You want to see things before it happens, and it's a calculated risk. And more times than not, I'm right, but not always. But you can't do this professionally for very long if the move is against you. You ultimately want to beat the index. You want to beat the closing number, which I've been fortunate for years having been able to do that. So I'll always take my chances. If my bets that I've made from Sunday night last week to Tuesday, betting totals to betting late on a football Sunday, as long as I beat the closing number, to me the rest is just drama, and I'll take my chances.
That in mind, as we sit here on the eve of the Sunday action, which games, be it totals, sides, spreads, whatever it is, what stood out to you?
Well, Adam, to Dave's point, I was fortunate to be on the Jaguars plus the 3, thinking there was a remote outside chance that Trevor Lawrence could play, but even if he didn't, the Browns to win by 4 or more. Are you kidding me? Seriously. The Jags have a very good rush defense. Beathard, adequate backup, not great, former Iowa Hawkeye product. But for the Browns to win by more than 4, even if Lawrence didn't play, I thought there was a chance he could, and now it looks like he will. So I'm going to expect movement on that game. Points mean more than opinion, so I'm happy taking the 3. So I'm on the Jags plus the 3 in that game.
Fascinating breakdown there. We have not seen the side move. The total did tick up a little bit with the news of Trevor Lawrence, but I would expect that number to come down inside the 3. You're going to get the best of the closing number, you would think, for certain, if Lawrence is able to go. It's a game Adam and I just talked about, and outside of the Cowboys and Eagles, maybe the marquee game of the week is Buffalo and Kansas City. And, you know, we were joking, Adam and I, about betting angry, like angry bets. We should make a segment. I've been jaded by the Bills in that game against Philadelphia. I still can't believe I didn't get to the window on that one. And I want to back the Bills here with all the injuries that Kansas City has. But should I have some maybe look in the mirror of keep going back to the well with the Bills and they keep coming up short? Is this fool's gold here catching the point? And actually, money's coming in on Kansas City. It's up to 1.5.
Well, it's a great observation, but the line actually opened higher with KC. All the money, all the sharp money was on Buffalo. I do not have an opinion on this game. It's a high-profile game. I pride myself on betting ugly games, ugly teams. I bet numbers. I bet value. I never bet teams. But to your point, Kansas City, opened, I believe, a 3, bet down to a pick. Now money's starting to trickle back in on KC, even though the big move initially was on Buffalo, and 3 is a key number on a side. 18% of all pro football games are decided by 3. 7 is the second most common side, followed by 4, 6, and 10 in that order. Most people understand that, but a lot of people bet totals, and they don't understand what a key number that 37 is. 37, 41, 44, 38, 45 in that order. Doesn't mean anything if you don't bet totals, but boys and girls, if you're betting totals, huge difference between 36.5 and 37.5, Dave, simply because there are 10 ways to get to 37.
I'm glad to hear that you like talking ugly games and betting ugly games, because I'll be honest, generally you're catching me on a weird week, Scott. Generally, I'm someone who is a little bit more conservative, a little more Charlie Chalk, if you will. But there are a couple of dogs, like, I don't mean like the Broncos 2.5. I mean legit dogs this week that I don't just like the number. I like them to win potentially. Those being the Panthers and the Rams. I'm curious what you think of those matchups.
Well, it takes courage, Adam. I respect your courage. You're a brave soul to ever bet on the Carolina Panthers. There's a reason why this team has lost 5 straight games. There's a reason why they're 31st in the league defensively, and there's a reason why they score about 15 points a game. The good news is they're playing the hapless, hopeless, pathetic New Orleans Saints. The Saints don't have a coach. Dennis Allen is a complete fraud. They don't have a quarterback. Derek Carr has never in 9 years with the Raiders won anything outside of making the playoffs, one game, one time. And then, of course, they don't have a kicker. They went from the world's best kicker, Lutz, who went to Denver this year, to a rookie who is erratic and inconsistent. And as far as the Rams go, I understand that play, but I don't like the Rams plus the points. Although I will say I do respect the fact that, as I said earlier, points mean more than opinion. So anytime you're taking a dog in the NFL, usually it's a pretty good play. Not last week early, because I believe the first 5 games out of the chute, the favorites not only won, they covered straight up. But the last 3 games, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, the dogs are barking. Again, points mean more than opinions. I don't trust the Rams. They were 3-6. They've won 3 consecutive games, and they've outscored their opponents big time. But Baltimore, this team, defensively, 15 points a game, number 1 in all of football for a reason. They're at home, and I do not trust the Lambs on the road, plus the points.
Can we talk what I think might be the ugliest game on the board? It's not, because the Texans have been kind of the darling of the NFL this year, right? The Jets have been just, if you watch them play football, it's painful. Yet, 5.5 down to 3.5, that cannot be because Zach Wilson is going to play quarterback. That has to be sharp money coming in saying, I have a feeling the Jets defense, maybe it's a last hurrah stance, still against a rookie quarterback and still against a rookie head coach on the road, maybe bad weather. Is that the reason for the downtick in the points? Because I can't imagine it's Zach Wilson.
Fair question, smart question. It's a little bit of everything. And to my point, what I'll say, Dave and Adam, is the fact that the Jets have a very good defense, yes. Number 1. The Jets are at home, and Zach is back. Forget that third point. Zach is a complete fraud. Everyone knows that. But C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, don't kid yourself. This team is for real. This guy has 20 touchdowns, 5 INTs, and offensively passing the ball, number 2 out of 32 teams in the NFL. So they are the real deal, the Texans. But I don't have an opinion on the side.
A game we haven't yet discussed here on this show, we're going to get to it still, but we'll let you be the appetizer here, is the Monday night game that the Dolphins are playing in, laying 13 at home against the Titans. Is this enough? I mean, is 13 enough points for the line? Because it seems like with that defense on the other side, obviously Miami's offense, feels like this could be a lot uglier than 2 touchdowns.
Fair, but again, I tend to lean on dogs. When in doubt, take the points, especially in the NFL. And I would never take, I actually bet plus 13.5. And I understand, I have a lot of respect for the Miami Dolphins offensively, but this team, forget it. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs. We're talking about a team that has a pathetic defense. We're talking about a team that's going to go on the road in the cold. They're going to have to play at Baltimore, at Kansas City. So I don't worry about the Dolphins. Give me the Titans plus the points.
Scott Pritchard, pleasure having you in studio. Thanks for taking the time.
Great. Enjoy the show. Keep up the good work, Dave and Adam. Love you guys. Keep it going.